Welcome to this tutorial for the Top Gun Maverick Darkstar in MSFS. Although a tutorial flight is included with this DLC, it's a little bit overcomplicated, and I wanted to show that you can use this plane outside of the demo flight. We're flying from London Heathrow to JFK in New York. We've got an 80% fuel load and flight time should be about 40 minutes. Let's jump inside. Takeoff in this plane is very simple. Parking brake off, throttles to full military power, and enable the afterburners. As the takeoff roll continues, pull back on the stick and the aircraft will rotate when it's ready. Once you have a positive rate of climb, you can bring the landing gear up. For your initial climb, keep the nose between 10 and 20 degrees and start to follow your nav path, which is the magenta line on the bottom right hand navigation display. Once you're aligned with your nav path, bring the aircraft back to centre and maintain a 10-degree pitch up attitude. Darkstar has a fly-by-wire system similar to Airbus, so once you're at the correct attitude, you can let go of the stick and the aircraft will continue to climb.
London Center, Penguin 11.
As it happens, Darkstar has a similar climb profile to Concorde, where you level off at around 30,000 feet and keep the throttles fully forward with afterburners engaged to break through the sound barrier and begin the supersonic portion of your flight. You'll want to stay straight and level. A gentle climb is okay, and just let the plane speed up until you hit around Mach 3. As we reach Mach 3, it's time to activate the Scramjets, which will take us to Mach 10 and into the stratosphere. On the second page of the MFD, open up both fuel valves. Activate the fuel cell in the bottom right corner of the panel. Flip open the Scramjet enable cover and flick the activation switch. The Scramjets will light and we'll soon be on our way. We'll return the MFD to its default state by clicking the page 1 button. You can now release the controls and enjoy the ride up to Mach 10 and around 275,000 feet, which is the maximum cruise altitude allowed in MSFS. Although there is no autopilot, the plane will essentially fly itself during the cruise phase of flight, so sit back and enjoy the views. All you will need to do is occasionally nose left or right to keep yourself on the nav path. Don't worry if you're running slightly to the left or the right of the track, you can adjust this during our descent phase later on. While turning, make sure you stay slightly nose up, as the smaller surface area during a turn means you'll lose both lift and speed if you were to stay nose level. Similar to Concorde, top of descent is at around 250 miles from your destination. At this point, switch off the Scramjets and bring the throttles to idle. Aim for a gentle pitch down of around 10 degrees. Release the controls and the plane will continue to get lower and slower. As you descend, you can make small adjustments to stay on your nav path. Level off at around 30,000 feet to bleed off your speed till about 200 knots. Then continue your descent at a 10-degree nose down attitude. During descent, always continue to follow your nav path as closely as possible. This becomes easier at subsonic speeds. Level off at 10,000 feet and increase your throttle to compensate for the straight and level attitude. We'll now stay at this altitude until we're about 20 miles from the airport. When you're around 20 miles to the airport, enter a 10-degree nose down attitude, maintain your speed of around 200 knots, level off around 2,500 feet above ground level. At this point you can also drop the landing gear ready for your approach. At this point your speed will naturally fall off to 160 to 170 knots, but that's a good place to keep it for approach. We can now see the airport out of our side windows, so we'll turn on to final. Visibility out of the front of the aircraft is non-existent, so we'll have to use the synthetic vision on the PFD here to guide our approach. We'll keep the velocity vector, which is the circle in the middle of the screen, over the runway. As we get closer, we'll try and aim that velocity vector over the touchdown point. You can see here my speed has become slightly higher during the final descent, so keep adjusting the throttle and try and get yourself below 200 knots. We'll keep that velocity vector as close to the touchdown point as possible, and once we reach about 100 feet over the runway, we're going to back off the throttle and we make a fairly firm but decent 200 feet per minute landing. Apply brakes as soon as you touch down, keep the plane on the centre of the runway and roll out to a stop. And there we go, a successful flight from London to New York in about 40 minutes in the Darkstar prototype aircraft from Top Gun Maverick. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this entertaining and useful. If you did, please drop a like and feel free to subscribe as I make this kind of content fairly regularly. Take care and I'll see you next time.